All right, the veil has been lifted and live from the Kenyatta University Communication Center on the 6th day of the month of October. Welcome to KUTV Prime Time News. We have a lot in store for you, but first, we knock in with the highlights of tonight's top stories. Sirisia MP John Waluke to continue serving a 67-year sentence after the High Court upheld a magistrate court verdict. The civil society organizations express displeasure in genetically modified organisms ban lift. Alarming drought in various parts of Kenya despite relief efforts. President William Ruto makes state visit to Ethiopia. Indeed, a warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is EMMANUEL KUTOSI, and sailing us through in the sign language interpretation is Sami Okelo. The Thursday night KUTV Primetime News begins now. You can do anything you want with this ruling except debate it on the floor of this house. And with that, the Speaker had spoken. National Assembly Speaker Moses Masika Wetangula today made the long-awaited ruling on the majority in the House, terming Kenya Kwanza as fit for the title. Despite laments from the Azimio coalition, Wetangula declared his ruling as final and key in ensuring the House business proceeds unimpeded. The Sergeant-at-Arms in the National Assembly and his officers had a hard time warding off disgruntled members of Parliament seeking to uproot the maze. Reason being a dissatisfaction by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Masika Wetangula, determining Kenya Kwanza as the majority coalition in the House.
10 members elected the House under the UDM, Pamoja African Alliance, Maendeleo Chap-Chap, and the Movement for Democracy and Growth, MDG, as part of a coalition that they have expressly distanced themselves from and their parties. I'm therefore persuaded that the 14 members and their parties are part of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. This, in my view, would be fair and in accordance with the previous rulings by my predecessors on related matters. 3, that with the 14 members, the membership of the Kenya Kwanza coalition stands at 179 members, while the membership of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party stands at 157 members. This, by implication, indicates that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is the minority party in this House. 4, that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is entitled to appoint the leader of the majority party, while the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is entitled to appoint the leader of the minority party.
The ruling also recognizing Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah as the majority leader, deputized by Kilifi North MP Owen Baya, with Sylvanus Osoro as the majority whip, deputized by Naomi Jilowako.
The member for Kikuyu constituency, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah. All the honorable members. All the honorable members. Can the members take their seats? The member for Kilifi North, the Honorable Owen Baya, is the deputy leader of the majority party. The member for South Mugirango, the Honorable Sylvanus Osoro, is the majority party whip. The member for Marsabit County, the Honorable Naomi Jilo Wako, is the Deputy Majority Whip.
The minority leader in the National Assembly is now Unguja MP Opiyo Wandayi, deputized by Kathiani MP Robert Mbui. Suna East MP Unet Mohammed recognized the minority whip, deputized by nominated MP Sabina Chege. The Speaker termed the ruling uncontestable, following Wandayi's sentiments to seek its review.
With regard to the minority party, the member for Ugunja, the Honorable Opiyo Wandayi, is the leader of the minority party. The member for Kathiani, the Honorable Robert Mbui, is the deputy leader of the minority party. The member for Suna East, the Honorable Junet Mohammed, is the minority party whip. And the nominated member, the Honorable Sabina Chege, is the deputy minority whip.
A shift by parties once allied to the Azimio coalition to the ruling Kenya Kwanza coalition being the brew that would bring about all the stalemate, despite several having written to the Speaker requesting to be distanced from Azimio. Determination now squarely puts the 13th Parliament on track to execute business that was left pending as the two coalitions locked horns, claiming the majority title. Elsewhere, Sirisia MP John Waluke has been sentenced to continue serving 67 years in prison after the High Court upheld a magistrate court verdict that had found him guilty. Waluke had been jailed by the magistrate's court, which found him guilty in a 297 million shilling maize scandal, but he filed an appeal at the High Court, arguing that the court had stumbled in the judgment.
On June 25, 2020, Magistrate Elizabeth Juma issued a ruling jailing Sirisia MP John Waluke. The legislature was sentenced over a graft case in which he was accused of defrauding the National Cereals and Produce Board (NCPB) of Kenya shillings 313 million. The MP was charged alongside Grace Wahungu and Herald Supplies and General Contracts Limited, a company where the two are shareholders. The MP was jailed for 4 months, after which he made an appeal and was released on a 10 million shillings bail. He risks losing his seat as a member of parliament if he fails to attend 8 consecutive parliamentary sittings without informing the National Assembly Speaker, or jailed for 6 months. Justice Esther Maina said the criminal charges were not excessive and were within the law and proved beyond reasonable doubt. She directed the appellants to pay a fine of 1 billion, and the two are allowed to appeal the sentences within 14 days. Waluke and Wahungu, through the company Herald, were supposed to supply 40,000 metric tons of maize to NCPB in 2004, but ended up pocketing Kenya shillings 313 million without supplying even a single grain of maize. Joseph Dhuku, KUTV.
Thank you, Joseph Thuko, for that report. And still within the corridors of justice, the High Court has reversed the acquittal of former Member of Parliament and also former Assembly Majority Leader Amos Kimunya. Justice Esther Maina has ruled that the Director of Public Prosecution, Nudin Haji, has established a strong case against Kimunya. Initially, Kimunya, together with the former Director of Land and Adjudication, Lillian Jenga, and the Chairperson of the Board of Midlands Limited, were charged with fraudulently acquiring a 60 Kenya shilling million land. The three are required to present themselves before the Chief Magistrate, Lawrence Mugambi, on October the 11th to answer the charges. And now to a trending matter. Kenya approved the cultivation and importation of genetically modified crops, lifting a 10-year ban on biotechnology foods in the country. This has, however, not sat well with the civil society organizations in the country, who have strongly condemned the move, saying lifting the ban will have more negative effects than intended good. Amondi Otieno now with the full report.
In the efforts to address the food challenge in the country, the government lifted the embargo imposed 10 years ago on the genetically modified crops. Civil societies have, however, stood against the move, saying the decision was made in a rush without enough public participation, adding that GMOs will have detrimental effects both to the consumers and the trade.
The lack of public participation. The rash decision to lift the ban on the importation of GMOs into the country lacked public participation. No public consultations were done, and the views of the public were not considered in the decision to lift the ban, which essentially curtails the freedom of Kenyans to choose what they want to eat or not.
Heavy concerns have also been raised on the level of unfair competition that may arise between the local farmers and the importance of the genetically engineered crops. On the consumers, it was also stated that the existing frameworks does not provide sufficient mechanism for redress on the GMOs in case of failure.
The existing GMO regulatory framework in Kenya fails to provide mechanisms for redress in the event of possible harmful effects arising from consumption and use of GMOs. And then we ask ourselves, what was the rush to lift the ban on GMOs?
The civil societies gave a list of demands they wish the government could address, including reinstatement of the embargo on GMOs.
We demand that the ban be immediately reinstated and an inclusive public participatory process be instituted to look into the long-term and sustainable solutions to issues affecting food security and agricultural productivity in the country. The solutions will include putting in place safeguards to protect millions of producers and consumers who do not embrace the technology.
The good intentions of the government to curb the ravaging food crisis in the country, which saw it lift the ban on GMOs, has been met with mixed reactions. Civil societies who are against the move have alleged that there are more bad than good in the move by the government. Omondi Otieno, KUTV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mondi, for that report. And still on matters food security, despite President William Ruto flagging off relief food to the unaffected counties, Tana River leaders and residents are crying foul after the county missed out on the relief. The drought crisis has continued to ravage different parts of the country, with about 3.5 million people in arid and semi-arid lands facing high levels of acute food insecurity. Concerns have been raised over the current drought situation, saying with residents in dire need of humanitarian support.
According to a research conducted by the Red Cross of Kenya, Tana River County, Kilifi County, Kwale County, Lamu and Isiolo counties have been affected by 50% of the drought, while Garissa County, Mandera County, Marsabit County, Samburu and Wajir counties at 45%. Most affected counties are predominantly pastoral, which represents 40% of the country's population. Despite President William Ruto flagging off relief food to the affected counties, Tana River leaders and residents are crying foul after the county missed out on food relief that was flagged off 2 weeks ago. According to Tana River Governor Dado Godana, the county was not allocated food and livestock pellets by the state when the president launched the distribution of food to counties affected by drought.
Serikali yetu kupitia gavana yetu tunaomba tafadhali mambo ya maji na chakula iangaliwe.
Zapata mama anaenda kilomita zaidi ya 13. Anaenda tu kutafuta maji, na saa nyingine
juzi mmoja tulikosa chakula. Na mimi nikauliza, jamani national government, hata kama mtatunyima maendeleo mabarabara, hata chakula.
While addressing the media, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua said the government is in effort to find a long-lasting solution to the residents living in the counties affected.
The government is clear that we cannot allow anybody to die, and I want to assure the people of Kenya that we are not sleeping. Something is being done, and in the next few days a lot of help will be coming through.
With the northern part of the country facing the hardest hit of the prevailing drought and hunger, leaders have called for intervention from the development partners, private sectors, and donors to rationalize government efforts in saving lives. Israel Omwai, KUTV.
Well, for that report, the Council of Governors today, through their chair, Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru, has said that the counties have no money to finance their respective activities due to late disbursement by Treasury. They are now calling upon the Treasury to disburse the 3 months old funds before services in the counties are paralyzed completely.
In a press briefing, the Council of Governors stated that the Ministry of Finance is drawing down the work of devolution as a result of the late disbursement of funds that are supposed to be released by the 15th of every month.
It is unfortunate that the third generation of county governments have started on a bleak note due to lack of resources. We wish to inform members of the public that the Constitution and the Public Finance Management Act 2012 requires that the National Treasury to disburse to counties on the 15th day of every month without undue delay.
According to the Council, the counties have not received their reimbursement for 3 months, a situation which has paralyzed county services and forced them to borrow even more money to pay employees.
The delays and unpredictable disbursements of funds has negative impact on service delivery, and counties run the risk of accruing pending bills. The Council therefore calls upon the National Treasury to release all the outstanding disbursement to counties on or before Monday, 10th October 2022.
The total outstanding arrears owed to counties stand at 51.7 billion shillings, in which 20.31 billion is owed to 27 counties for August 2022 allocation, 31.4 billion owed to 47 counties for September 2022, and of which 29.6 billion is expected to be disbursed to counties for the month of October. All eyes are now directed to the Ministry of Finance to see if they'll disburse money to counties come Monday next week. For KUTV, I am Eugene Mayabi.
President William Samoei Arap Ruto has left the country today for Ethiopia, where he will preside over the launch of mobile telco Safaricom in the country, and is also exploring new fronts in relations with the Ethiopian in order to pursue shared interest. He has held talks with the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed Ali, at his office in Addis Ababa.
President Ruto stated that the Kenya-Ethiopia partnership is a cornerstone of the mutual benefit and regional stability. He looks forward to reconfigure both their priorities to promote innovation and inclusive growth for socio-economic good of the people. Both countries are members of the IGAD trade bloc, therefore the trade ties between Kenya and Ethiopia are strong. The largest mobile telco in Kenya's affiliate Safaricom Ethiopia will be the first foreign investment in Ethiopia's telecom market. According to Safaricom Ethiopia, the company has successfully expanded its network throughout the nation. 35% of Safaricom is owned by the government. The Global Partnership for Ethiopia, a joint venture between Safaricom, Vodacom Group, Vodafone Group, Sumitomo Corporation, and the British International Investment, is the company's Ethiopian subsidiary, with 55.7% of the fund being owned by Safaricom. From Addis Ababa, Ruto will travel to Uganda for the Sunday celebration of 60 years of independence before heading to Tanzania to meet President Samia Suluhu. The trip comes days after an online tiff between Kenya and Uganda that was triggered by a tweet made by General Muhoozi, President Yoweri Museveni's son, claiming his army could capture Nairobi in no more than 2 weeks. For KUTV, I am Susan Wayaki.
Well, and with that story from Susan Wayaki on the president's first trip in the East African region as president, we take our first break right here on KUTV Primetime News. Be sure to note that we are also streaming live on Facebook at KUTV Kenya. We take a short break. We'll be back with the day's discussion.
We are going to roast the chicken as whole as it is, so we call it a family platter roasted chicken which has been marinated, and we are going to serve it together with roasted potatoes and a dip. That is the first one. Then the second one, we're going to make a salad out of the same chicken. We're going to make a salad. that is going to be served with a dressing that has the concept of Italy. So it's called the Italian classic dressing.
Today I am at DIN, Digital Education Africa Network.
So at DIN we have a program we call Classworks program. As you can hear is that a classroom is supposed to work for the students. And this Classworks program is filling a niche to understand that we do have modern students in the classroom right now. And also with the changing world with technology, that students have access to technology in the classroom. We give digital tools to schools. These are computers and also something called the Limupai. So most of the schools right now don't have computers. So we provide that in our program.
Motocross is a form of off-road motorcycling held in enclosed road circuits. In Kenya, most of the races are held at the Jamhuri grounds. In today's episode of The Future, we focus on young motocross enthusiasts from Kenya and neighboring Uganda.
Makala ya mwaka 2022 ya maonesho ya kimataifa ya kilimo yamefana katika jiji la Nairobi. Chuo Kikuu cha Kenyatta kimekuwa mstari wa mbele kuonesha uvumbuzi mbalimbali katika kukuza kilimo, na ndio maana chuo hiki kimetuzwa.
I'm very proud that we have been recognized during this year's show.
Kaimu makamu chancellor wa Chuo Kikuu cha Kenyatta Profesa Washeke Wanjoi alitembelea kituo cha maonesho ya kilimo kilichoweka paruanja juhudi za idara mbalimbali za KU kuimarisha kilimo.
We are doing so much at Kenyatta University, both at postgraduate studentship level, and also at the Business Incubation Center, and also at the school level.
Unemployment has hit you hard. Your salary is meager. You decide to venture into business, but you're struggling to thrive in it. You would want to reap a big tip on how not to run into losses.
Forget the preachy business vlogs, the hyperbolic motivational speeches, and all the roads down desperation.
Hope has come with model stories from small successful entrepreneurs. We tell you these tales weekly on The Budding Entrepreneur. Join us as we help you make your trade profitable and often smile to the bank.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Tech Innovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one for all. Make a date with me, Samson Jura, every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
knowing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Natoka ile mtenye Maslay Queen utembea na visi ndio onekao tamada vijana.
Kajiona mdeadly kushinda waganga wote wa Kitui. Hakujua hii kitu hii ni tricky.
Hapi imekuwa chai. Ite kitu kidogo just to get in between my thighs at I love you.
Welcome back to KUTV Prime Time News. Of course, we do appreciate your continued watching us and actually enjoying everything that we have for you. And now we're moving on into our day's discussion, and it is on matters the youth. The percentage occupied by this population group is numerically immense. However, it is one whose impact on change seemingly has faced hurdles through the ages. It is the youth, and tonight we look into why the situation is as it is and how we can possibly see our way through. But for a moment, we now launch into a small package which will give us an angle of the whole conversation. Take a look.
The youth, a common term among the political circles and generally in the national conversation. It is a group whose capital in the just concluded elections bore immense value. In that the cap runs from 35 to practically zero, educational reforms play a major factor in this subsection. It is also one that literally bears the weight of the nation spread out in various institutions. The national public service bodies, the private sector, both formal and informal.
Jua kali, popularly known in Kenya as artisanal work such as tool making or textiles, has been a livelihood for
the challenges that face this national visionary treasure stem from use or misuse rather in the political arena, with the lion's share of representation seemingly escaping them in the political arena. Despite their numbers, they are still referred to as a marginalized group, plagued by issues such as poverty, crime, drug abuse, among others.
Youth and women are the largest component of our plan. Apart from them being cutting across all these sectors, when we are talking about jobs, when we are talking about internet, when we are talking about all this.
With the current political decks as they are, it is keen to assess the position of the youth in the course to see a prosperous people.
Yes, indeed. Our conversation tonight is on the youth card, a card that is of consideration and one that is very important, but one for some reason that has been sidelined. And today in studio, I am joined by the Ford Kenya Youth League Secretary General, Victor Kirui, who's also the former president in Karatina University, although he prefers to tell me that they call that seat as a chairman seat in that place, but here it's a president that will recognize it as so, because this is a youth leader who can be able to tell us about his challenges and everything that he's been through, being a young leader and one who's also seemingly in the political arena. Victor, welcome to our studio right here at KUTV.
Many thanks.
Now, straight to it, Victor. The youth are quite a number. It's quite immense, the number of young people who are involved in the, looking at the whole, like even if you were to subdivide the country as it is, even in the completed elections, we saw a lot of youth practically on the campaign side, quite a lower number contesting to see themselves into office. Looking at matters as they are right now, do you see like the place for the youth in these 5 years that we are going before we go into another session such as the one that we've had, have a proper place in the political angles?
Firstly, Emmanuel, many thanks for such an opportunity to be with KUTV and to address issues of youth. And I'd like to also say good evening to our viewers back there at home and all the youths across the country. To your question, fine. If we just take stock quickly of the previous government and what they were able to achieve within the last decade of Jubilee government, I can say they did quite remarkable. But of course, there are areas where we feel as young people that we need more reinforcement and we need enhanced inclusivity, enhanced participation in the country's politics. To your immediate question on now going to the future, I think, Emmanuel, we are set to having maybe robust reforms when it comes to addressing youth issues based on the number of advocacies and the way they have been articulated in their campaigns, which were run by the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. So we are very optimistic and we look forward to major transformational policy changes and maybe sectoral improvement on youth issues, on addressing youth issues. Thank you.
And Victor, looking at matters as they are right now, we are seeing the government being very quick to see how fertilizer will be lowered prices and all that is. And if you to look at the subdivision of the youth who are involved in matters of agriculture or the like, it's quite a low number. So, and still unemployment is a problem that is directly affecting the youth. When we see drastic measures being applied to be able to solve certain matters, but not necessarily the matters that affect the youth directly, is it something that does bear optimism in moving forward and actually being able to look at it as in the youth are still being addressed and will be addressed and their issues will be looked at by the government that is currently?
Yes, I think first things first, when the government was just, after the swearing in of the president, now it's almost weeks into office, and there are those 20 issues which obviously we expect that the head of state to quickly look into as he got into office. And there is a way government works and will respond to certain matters. However, they are very, very pressing as they seem, but there's a way they do, respond to them. I believe however much youth issues might be rising to be very, very vital, this is too early anyway to in any way castigate that maybe the government is giving priority to other things. I believe when they were campaigning, they were talking quite and putting forward many promises towards the economy, and they were talking about the unbearable cost of living, the skyrocketing prices of consumables, and most of the things which actually the population were raising there in the ground. However, yes, youth issues are very, very vital. I think we still have good time to give time to the sitting government to come back and maybe settle on these things going forward. So we're very optimistic going forward.
Okay, Kirui, there's something I'd like to also address. You see, in fact, among my group of followers and those who actually look at the stories that happen here in KUTV, someone was very concerned when they heard tonight we are speaking on matters of politics. Fact being, they are young and they are not really, they see quite a big disconnect between politics and them as the youth. Kindly, you are a Ford Kenya Secretary General in the Youth League, which means for some reason you see an importance of being part of the politics as it is currently. Kindly connect to us. Why is the politics of the day that important to the youth currently?
Emmanuel, I believe, over time we've been told, repeatedly that the youth ought to take their place in society and maybe claim certain leadership responsibilities in the country if they really want to see change and if they really want to make change themselves. We've been advocating for change for almost, since independence. And it's time now that we take to the stage and demonstrate to the population, to the country at large, that we are fit enough to be trusted or entrusted with these leadership responsibilities. But look, it's very important that youths now need to consider leadership and majorly political leadership, because that's where the topmost decision making is carried out. So I believe as an active player in the youth leagues and youth movements and youthful activities around politics, I believe political issues cannot be viable enough without youthful incorporation within them. So I just feel like we are in the right trajectory and we should really claim our position in this society.
Optimistic view right there, Victor Kirui, but we are pressed for time. And in the final sentiments, I love to indulge you with the recent ruling by the Speaker of the National Assembly, where he actually determined the Kenya Kwanza Alliance as being the majority in the National Assembly. What is your reaction on this ruling?
Well, quickly on that, it's one of the most recent and very, very prudent ruling ever made in the House of Parliament. I believe the Speaker, being a seasoned lawyer and a seasoned legislator who've been in politics for quite a long, I believe he was well informed in his ruling to find that it's within the wisdom of the House to have the majority of the seats as provided for in Article 108 of our Constitution go to Kenya Kwanza. Emmanuel, there's this thing. When the Political Parties Act were amended recently, it really shaped and made serious changes to how we govern our political parties. We were even told that a coalition can as well duplicate a political party per se. And we saw that play out clearly with Azimio, one-party coalition, coming out and fielding a presidential candidate. And it trickled down to members of parliament, gubernatorial aspirants, senators, members of parliament, including woman representatives and members of county assembly. So when they won seats and coming to parliament, where now the two factions had to determine who are the majority, by numbers, and frankly speaking, as a mere numbers are the initial phases of this. But over time, when now on the aftermath of the election, there are some parties which found it prudent or very wise within themselves to cross over to Kenya Kwanza. However, there was a barrier that the law do not allow political parties to make any significant or substantive affiliation to a coalition which they are not a party to before the lapse of 3 months on a post-election. But it was within their own feeling that they found liberties and rights to work well with Kenya Kwanza, citing certain reasons why they will not be subjected to a very, very pressing coalition, as most of them said. So when they came in, they gave numbers to Kenya Kwanza. And because of that, we can say Kenya Kwanza today commands the House by fact. Even in the Senate, the Senate has more of Kenya Kwanza members of the House than they do over Simio. And to just put it on a summary, is that what the Speaker has done, I think he has done something which is quite sustainable. I say sustainable because there is a case that they can be allowed to seek for redress in a court of law. Now they are senior people. And if they go to court, anyway, the court will give an advisory opinion or even a ruling that, yes, maybe within the readings of the Political Parties Act, these parties which shifted from one coalition to another before the lapse of 3 months were unconstitutional or something, we look forward to such sentiments in court, and even lawyers will talk much to that. But even in the event, look at the cost benefit of all this, even in the event that courts rule, in the unlikely event anyway, that courts rule that, as a meal, at a majority by law in Parliament, but again they will still come in, and in the next few months, now in the lapse of the 3 months, they will still be at liberty to proclaim their previous positions, and then come back to Kenya Kwanza, which will not help because it will again provoke the provision of Article 108, so, and they'll still carry out another election. So there's no need. It's very sustainable now that we have such a ruling. Yes, it's very sustainable. That's what I can say.
And Kirui, allow me to also indulge you in this, as in now looking at the fact that the Kenya Kwanza, the ruling divide, is the one that has the muscle in both houses. What do you think about the role of oversight? Won't it be somehow be lowered? What is your look on the oversight of the opposition now, as matters are?
Emmanuel?
Looking at now, the opposition is now somehow surmounted because in both houses, they are the minority. How will they be able to execute their role, in your view?
Most of the time, the opposition has always been the minority in both houses. And given that's a situation that befalls in most of the jurisdictions, even outside Kenya, and the opposition is always the minority in the house. But what I always advocate for as a youthful, leader, I always advocate for an house with explicit and very clear separation of powers, so that we don't have the legislator in any way, or the legislature in any way, talking to matters of executive so much, to an extent forgiving that they have to carry out 3 mandates as provided for in Article 94, 93, 94, 95, 96 of the Constitution. That's oversight, that's representation, and lawmaking. So, House of Parliament anyway should not indulge much in the business of the executive, except in cases which they are supposed to push for certain, policies or certain agendas of the ruling government. But it doesn't mean it should go to an extent of being a compromise. It was a South African jurist who called such houses a rubber stamp house. These are the houses which they don't oppose what they really trickle down from their party leaders or maybe whoever is running the state. So I expect still that the National Assembly and the Senate will work and stick to their constitutional mandates of oversighting government, of representing its people or the constituents, and making laws. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Victor Kirui. Unfortunately, we're pressed for time and we'll have to kill it at that. And thank you for actually making time to come today and also give us your perspective as a young leader on everything concerning the whole political arena as it is currently. Thank you very much, Victor Kirui.
I'm honored.
And I'm honored as well. We take a short break right here on KU TV. We'll be back in a moment with more news.
Makala ya mwaka 2022 ya maonesho ya kimataifa ya kilimo yamefana katika jiji la Nairobi. Chuo kikuu cha Kenyatta kimekuwa mstari wa mbele kuonesha uvumbuzi mbalimbali katika kukuza kilimo, na ndio maana chuo hiki kimetuzwa.
I'm very, very proud that we have been recognized during this year's show.
Kaimu makamu chancellor wa chuo kikuu cha Kenyatta Profesa Washeke Wanjoi alitembelea kituo cha maonesho ya kilimo kilichoweka paruanja juhudi za idara mbalimbali za KU kuimarisha kilimo.
We are doing so much at Kenyatta University, both at postgraduate studentship level, and also at the Business Incubation Center, and also at the school level.
Unemployment has hit you hard. Your salary is meager. You decide to venture into business, but you're struggling to thrive in it. You would want to reap a big tip on how not to run into losses.
Forget the preachy business vlogs, the hyperbolic motivational speeches, and all the roads down desperation.
Hope has come with model stories from small successful entrepreneurs. We tell you these tales weekly on The Budding Entrepreneur. Join us as we help you make your trade profitable and often smile to the bank.